Welcome to Life on Purpose, where we talk all things health, wellness, and living your life on your terms. I'm your host, Brandy Eilert. I'm a holistic health and wellness coach and creator of Brandy Eilert Wellness, where I help women with adrenal fatigue and chronic stress live a more holistic, purpose-filled life. You can find my content and services at wellness360coach.com/Brandy-Eilert. You can also find me at Brandy Eilert Holistic Wellness Coach on Facebook or Brandy Eilert Wellness Coach on Instagram. Now get ready to learn how to really live life on purpose. Welcome back, everyone. I hope that you guys had a really nice Mother's Day weekend. I know I did. It was really kind of chill around my house. I got a few projects done and some work done, and it was pretty quiet and calm, but I really hope that you guys had a nice weekend. But for today, so this this episode is going to be super interesting. I have a really fun, mystical, spiritual guest for today's show, and I am so excited to share her with you all. How many of you, like me, love to learn about things they don't necessarily understand? People use all kinds of different tools and services and techniques to not only better their health and well-being, but also to understand themselves better. And I would argue that understanding yourself and who you are at your core and learning to trust yourself is a fundamental tool in living a happy, healthy life. So I've had friends and family members in the past talk about times in their lives when they have utilized intuitives, psychic mediums, spiritual healers, spiritual teachers, and how it really impacted them and how they saw themselves. And it really intrigued me. It was not something that I had ever really thought about or learned anything about. So it was really fascinating. And it's one of those things that I feel like people are really open to or really just aren't. There doesn't seem to be a whole lot of gray area there. But for me, I feel like I'm in that gray area of just wanting to learn more. I like to experience things for myself before making judgments, and I really like to understand these things that I don't necessarily really understand, I guess, if I can be repetitive. But so in the past few years, when I have been in some of the lowest times of my life, I decided to see what these forms of healing were all about. I mean, what could I possibly lose, right? And while I think I'd really like to keep what I got out of these things private, because I don't want to sway people one way or another, I will say that it was unlike anything I had expected or even imagined. So I was introduced to today's guest, Lauren Dragon Cook, by a business friend of mine who has utilized Lauren's intuitive coaching services for her business. I myself have not worked with Lauren, but I really wanted to bring her on and dive into this spiritual world that she lives and learn more about her gifts and how they help people. Not to mention, she has a really cool story about how she discovered her gifts. I mean, like, really kind of crazy. So Lauren is a spiritual teacher and energy healer dedicated to helping women connect to their intuition. She guides them with creating the space they need to develop a greater relationship with their intuition so that they can begin to take inspired action towards their dreams and desires. If that doesn't sound awesome, I don't know what does. So our conversation was unlike any conversation that I have ever had on this show. And I really hope that you guys love this interview with Lauren Dragon Cook. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right in. All right, Lauren, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. I really appreciate it, and I'm really excited to talk to you. So why don't we just start? I would love to hear from you just a little bit about yourself and what exactly you do.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for having me. Super excited. So my name is Lauren Dragon Cook, and I like to refer to myself as a spiritual teacher. I'm an energy healer. I help empaths embody their soul's purpose so that way they can actually live a life of alignment and fulfillment versus feeling like they maybe are floundering or not understanding their own gifts. So I love to bring clarity to people's lives in any way that I can.
So empath, just for people who don't really understand that word or energy healing, how would you describe an empath, or what kind of person would an empath be?
Absolutely. So more people are empaths than they actually realize. An empath is somebody who feels very deeply. They feel the emotions of others. Oftentimes they're able to feel someone else's emotion as if it's their own when they're having a conversation with someone. They are people that when they are around what I like to refer to as like energy vampires, they become very drained. They become very, very, very tired and drained around certain individuals. They don't really like crowds because it also can be very draining. There are all kinds of different traits of empaths, but essentially it's just somebody that is able to feel emotions at a heightened level, and they also are able to tap into their own inner knowing, otherwise known as their intuition.
Sure. So someone who's like very sensitive to like energy around them and kind of takes that on as their own. So I would really love to kind of go backwards, I guess, start from the beginning. How did this all start for you? Like, how did this whole world of spiritual teaching and intuition and energy and everything, how did this all start for you? Because it doesn't seem like, a path that somebody was just like, oh, I'm going to get into spiritual healing.
No, definitely. How long is this podcast? How much time do I have?
As much time as you want.
Half kidding, but I'll condense it as much as possible. So I, growing up, I was always very in tune to, again, the emotions of others. I was always very aware of, like, if someone was upset, how, even as I can remember being like 3 years old, like kind of like tiptoeing just because I could feel how upset they were. And I knew that I didn't want to like upset them more. But my quote unquote awakening, like I'm going to use terms, obviously that are the spiritual community is very familiar with, but I'll do my best to obviously to make it, widely accessible. I had my awakening, which is just a period of time where you begin to look at your existence and your reality with a different lens. And so I had my awakening back February 2013. Very briefly, I was working for a Boston wedding photographer who happened to also be my best friend. I went to my very first wedding, just being the studio manager. It's not something you typically do, but I wanted to help and I loved this bride. Well, we knew that her mother was a world-renowned psychic. We knew that going into it.
Wow, that's fascinating.
Right? It's like, okay, how's this wedding going to go? Like, okay. And so we knew that. And so anyway, the wedding happened, nothing crazy, out of the ordinary went down or anything like that. And it was at the very end of the night. It was probably closer to like 11 o'clock at night. Everyone had gone to the after party. The mother of the bride came back in to the ballroom that we were in. We're packing up our gear, ready to leave. And she climbs up the stairs. And so we're on the second floor of this room. And she climbs up the stairs. And when she gets to the very top of the stairs, she goes, "Who here knows Flo?" And I just looked at her and I was like, because I'll be totally honest, I have really crappy hearing. So I'm like, wait a minute, like, did I actually hear her accurately? And so she goes, "Who here knows Florence?" And I immediately burst into tears. It was just a reaction, one of those that you cannot control. And it's not even like I needed to raise my hand at that point. Like, she knew, like, the writing's on the wall. And she goes, "She wants you to know that she's okay. She's not in pain anymore." And so she started to have this dialogue with me, and come, like, just for, people listening, my grandmother, who was like my person, for any Grey's Anatomy fans out there, like, she was my person. She had just passed January 30th this wedding happened February 23rd.
Yeah.
So we're talking not even a month.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And so here we are. And so she's delivering some messages to me. And she's delivering messages to, the other two ladies that I'm with, but then also she wants you to also know that she knew who Liam was. And so I had just had my first son and she had dementia. And so I didn't know if she understood half the time who I was or who even my son was.
Yeah.
And so someone could have offered me $1 million or that information, and I would have taken that information any given day because it was something that ate me up inside all the time. Anyway, at the very end of her delivering all of these random messages out of nowhere, she goes, you have the gift, right? She says this to me. And I said, what are you talking about? And she goes, you have the gift. Let's do a quick little exercise. And I'm like, what? Like, what are we doing right now? Like, we literally were just talking about, before she came up the stairs, we were talking about what we were going to get at McDonald's. Like, we were starving. Like, how did it go from talking about McChickens to now you have the gift? Like, I'm not sure. But she says, you have the gift. Let's do an exercise. And she said, I'm thinking of my very best friend. Her name is Pam. Without thinking about it, I want you to go ahead and describe her to me. Ready? Go. And I'm like, I was like, she's about my height. She's a little heavier set. Her eyes are blue and she has a smile that lights up the room. And she said, that's my Pam.
Oh my goodness gracious.
And I'm like, what in the actual just happened right here? And so anyway, to sum it all up, she basically said, you have the gift. You just need to exercise your intuitive muscle. You just need to, learn. I'm like, okay. So that was me falling down the rabbit hole of all things intuition. I eventually left working for the wedding photographer. We parted ways. It was one of the hardest decisions I've ever had to do. But I know that if I hadn't done that, I wouldn't be here either.
Right.
So I transitioned from that to then a wedding planner to then a wedding business coach to then a spiritual business coach to now just who I am. And that is a spiritual teacher.
That is fascinating. So what along the way, at what point were you like, okay, wow, this is really something? Because it's one thing to be like, okay, that was really creepy, and then move on with your life and go get the McNuggets, and
True.
So at what point were you just like, okay, wow, this is something?
It took me. So by nature, I'm a very rational person. I'm a very educated person. I mean, I love numbers. I love the logic. So it took me a while to stop telling myself that I was, bat-ish crazy. I had to really go there. So I, after that encounter, I went out and I grabbed a couple decks of angel cards, of oracle cards, and I just started to play with them. And so actually I came from a family that my mother always said, that is, terrible. That is like Satan. That is, don't ever play with that stuff. And so I always had this huge aversion and fear, right? Because that had been instilled in me. And so when I saw this was one of my first decks, it's an angel card deck. And I was like, well, that can't be bad. Like angels, and so I started playing with them. And so then it would be I would pull a spread for myself and it literally would have just described the day's events to a T. And so it's one of those, I coined the term, can't make this ish up. And there are more times than I can count that it's just been there's no other explanation,
So what do you say to skeptics? What do you say to people? Because I feel like there's people who are totally on board, people maybe who are just interested, maybe not, and some who are just, like you said, that's total garbage. And so what do you do? What do you say to people who don't, who are skeptical?
It depends. I mean, because some people are skeptical, but they're still open.
Mm-hmm.
Then there are other skeptics that are just completely closed off to it, and they're set in their opinion, and they're set in what, they've come to believe is truth, and there's no moving that.
Yeah.
And so it kind of depends. I have to kind of gauge the person.
Yeah.
But what I will say to that is I used to be a skeptic too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, not to the point where I'm like, these people are like fakes, but like, okay, remember in like was it the 90s? I feel like I'm dating ourselves, but like with Lady Cleo and like, like
Sylvia Brown and
right? Yeah. Like that was my impression of like what this all was. And the reality, it's far from that.
Yeah.
And so it's just a matter of reframing, I guess, what you believe in the moment. And if you're willing to be open, I guess, to the conversation and the dialogue, like you might be surprised.
And also what you experience probably. Because I'm very much, I'm not a black or white person by any means. I really like to learn as much as possible about any subject, any given subject. And then I tend to form my opinions based on that or what I feel during that time. So what can somebody expect working with you?
Well, that's a broad
okay, let's narrow it down. Somebody comes to you for what purpose? How to hone in on their intuition, how to what?
So I have clients that range from exactly that, what you just said. They have been feeling these stronger nudges, I like to call them. And so they have, started researching whatever topic it may be, and they need more clarity. They know that something's going on underneath the surface. They know there's something more out there, and they want insight. I have people that, want help with their business, and they can be in the spiritual field and practicing, or, they could be, a computer programmer.
Right.
It doesn't matter, because the beautiful like gift of intuition is that it's not, it can't be confined in a box. It applies to everyone, and everyone has the gift of intuition. It's just a matter of whether or not you tap into it. So I also have people that, have blocks with anything, blocks with relationships, blocks with finances, blocks with, their marriages, like blocks all over the place, and they know that I'm able to go in and help them energetically remove those blocks, because they've tried X, Y, and Z and magical potion, Q,
right,
and nothing has ever worked for them. I'm their last ditch effort.
Yeah.
And the main reason why, so many things don't work along the way is because it's not actually touching the root of the problem. You're not getting to the actual core of what the surface level symptom is.
Yeah.
Like, if you're trying to like fix a broken knee with a Band-Aid, good luck with that.
Right.
Like, it's not going to work.
You need to go a little bit deeper. So what are some of the tools that you use to help people tap into that intuition and make these big revelations or changes or whatever it is that they're looking for?
Yeah. There's all kinds of different modalities that I use. I like I mentioned in the, way earlier, I obviously use card decks. So I'll use oracle spreads. I dowse, which is just using a pendulum for yes or no answers. I do energy work. I do Reiki. Like there's all kinds of different modalities that I use. But the one that always seems to be, I don't want to say the strongest, but I mean, I guess it is just my ability, my clairsentience, which is your sense of feeling.
Yeah.
And so like, even just by looking at someone, I can be like, okay, what's going on with da 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 da.
Yeah.
So a lot of other people, like I also have the gift of clairvoyance. So I'm able to see things. I'm able to see images.
Yeah.
And so like my guides, my team, I guess, if you will, my guardian angels, whatever you want to call them. I'm non-denominational. So whatever you want to, what label you want to put on it, have fun. They like to deliver messages to me specifically in imagery that is metaphorical. And so I may see like an image of like an apple, or I could see like an illuminated word, and I'd be like, okay, what does, you know, the word freedom mean? Like, why do I keep seeing the name freedom?
Yeah.
Are
you seeing the word freedom right now?
Yeah, I am.
That's really freaky.
And that is one of those can't make this up moments that we like to talk about in my world. And there we are.
Can we hang up here? I'm going to have to call you back and see what's going on.
Perfect.
My husband's going to be freaking out that, you know, you're seeing freedom over here. Like,
I am. And it's not even, and that's the thing is like, people are like, are you because I'll be the first one to say, like, I used to get so confused. Like, are you actually seeing it? Like, are you seeing, like someone wrote it with a marker and like, you can see it.
Right.
What I like to say is like, if you were to look at, say you were to look at like a open store sign, right? Like a neon sign. If you look at that sign and then you close your eyes, you can still see that image.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it's in your mind's eye. And everyone has this ability. And I guarantee you, listeners that probably experience a lot of intuitive hits and moments throughout their day, but they mistake that for it being just their mind or just a thought that they had. Like, where do you think those thoughts originate from?
Right. Yeah.
You know,
Really, it's really fascinating.
Well, I'm glad you find it fascinating.
So so you talked about like, you know, people in general probably have these things happen to them throughout the day. If they wanted to, how do they strengthen that intuition? Or I guess intuition would be the word.
Yeah, absolutely. I like to describe someone's intuition like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it's going to become. So, you know, thinking about like if you're looking to, you know, firm up those glutes or like whatever, you know, get those biceps, triceps. Clearly, I go to the gym so much. I'm like, what is that word? I don't know. Your arms. I'm like, I don't know. If you're looking to, you know, strengthen it, make it bigger, you're going to exercise it. And so certain things you can do would be to just, you know, research, obviously. It's going to lead you down a rabbit hole, I guarantee you, and that you're never going to come back from. So good luck from that. But it's a beautiful ride. And, you know, just for me, the way that I strengthened it the most, especially in the beginning, was just practicing with cards, just pulling spreads for myself. It could even just be like a daily card, but it was more of like a trust factor. It wasn't so much that I needed like the clarity or the messages or like whatever that was coming up. It was like, oh, okay, that's what I'm feeling. Holy crap, there it is.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's like, you just can't deny the connection with the cards. And it's literally as simple as running your hands over the cards and, you know, picking one. There's not a science to it. It's just whatever one feels right. That's the card you're supposed to choose. Sometimes it feels hot.
Right.
Sometimes it feels cold to people. Sometimes they feel like the cards are vibrating. And sometimes it's just the way that it is arranged when they're, you know, selecting it. But that for me was like the single-handedly the largest way that, you know, I personally did. And to get readings done by others, because then that way too, you go from being a skeptic to a believer with hesitancy to, okay, maybe there's something here, to, okay, maybe, you know, my life could be a little bit better if I did listen to my own intuition. How do I do that? And it kind of progresses from there.
Right. And it's really interesting you say that, because this past year. I think it was the first time that I was like, ooh, you know, I would really like to try this. I
Yeah.
had like the shittiest 2 years of my life, and there was a lot of question marks going on, and I was like, you know, what's it going to hurt? And so I did one astrology reading, and then I did one kind of intuitive with cards and whatnot. And I will tell you, I cried both times, bawled my eyes out. It was, you know, and you leave there like, did that really happen? Is this really real? And you just, it was very, I was questioning, but had I not just kind of tried it, I would have never released those emotions that I kind of had pent up about what was going on in my life during that time. So it was, yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy. Absolute craziness.
It is. It's batshit crazy. Like it is
one of those things where I was like, these are things that I've never said out loud to anybody in my life. And I mean, I remember just sitting there like, oh my God, you know me better than I know me, you know.
It's all about perspective, but yeah.
But it was also one of those things where you're like, oh my God, I can't tell my friends and my family that I did this. They're going to think I'm crazy. But
yeah.
At this point, you know, I don't care enough, I guess, what people think to really care anymore. And I think that was kind of one of the things that I had to get past. But yeah, I don't know. But I've also, like you said, kind of at the beginning, I've also been one of those people who has felt things very deeply and probably held onto them and not really known how to get rid of them. So I've worked a lot in these last couple of years and just kind of working through a lot of emotions and getting rid of them. Because I remember just a personal story. When I was a kid, my parents were separated. They were getting ready to go through a divorce. And I remember this one night, without going into detail about how crazy this weekend was, there was some drama with the weekend with my mom and my dad. And I remember this one night going to bed, and I just had this overwhelming, like something is wrong, does not feel right feeling. And I could not stop crying. I was 11 years old. I could not stop crying. And my mom kept asking me what's wrong. And I told her, I don't know, but something's wrong. And so she let me sleep in her bed that night and was just trying to console me. Well, I didn't realize it. We found out 2 days later that my dad had taken his own life that night. And so and it was like this story and this thing that I held on to forever. You know what I mean? That did I know? Did I feel something? And then you don't want to feel crazy by saying, you know, I felt something shift in my whole world. Like my world shifted somehow. And so the idea of energy and this connection of energy that we have, you know, with the people in our lives, there's no way that you can convince me that that's not a thing.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Exactly.
Which is why it's like what you do is really fascinating to me.
Well, thank you. Well, thank you.
Yeah. So do you think that we, in general, have a problem trusting ourselves? Like trusting our own intuitions. We tend to talk ourselves out of things, out of our own feelings, out of our own emotions.
All the time. And if you look at our society, and even in just the language that we use, like I just think of my boys. And so I have 2 young boys in elementary school. And I was talking with a mother the other day about how she quote unquote raises, you know, her kids. And she's like, when, you know, one of my boys gets hurt, if there's, you know, not blood, I tell him, stop crying and suck it up, you know, get strong, whatever, you know, whatever. And I'm just thinking to myself, but why not allow him to feel it?
Right.
Why is he not supposed to feel those emotions? And so if, you know, even starting at that young age, and again, I'm just speaking to, you know, my experience, but I'm pretty sure it's part of the collective experience.
Yeah.
You know, we are told that we're taught that emotions are bad, and that, we're not meant to feel them, and they're debilitating, and it's a weakness. And, if somebody is overly emotional, then they get called that. You're like, oh, you're too emotional.
Yeah.
Or, whatever, you're so sensitive. Like, those are derogatory terms. It's not like it's like, oh, that's okay. Like, no, what are you feeling? Like, it's not encouraged. And so if it's not encouraged at an early age, why would we as adults, feel that way? And it's interesting because when you were talking about being 11 years old and feeling that, it, as children don't tend to lose their connection to source, to spirit, to the divine, to God, again, non-denominational, whatever you want to call it. They don't lose that connection until they start to hit that time period.
Yeah.
And so they then they're taught that logic, information, education, rationality, the in black and white is more valuable than what their intuition is telling them or what their feelings are telling them.
And I think that's what gets very confusing, because if you feel something's wrong or off, and then talk yourself out of it because, this is logically what I'm supposed to be doing or not supposed to be doing, whatever the example you want to use is. It's super, I mean, do you override yourself? Do you override your own emotions and then try to just talk yourself out of it? And then you feel kind of yucky.
You feel like lost, really? And you feel like you weigh 100 pounds.
Yeah.
And so that is the mind versus intuition debate that so many of us struggle with. And even those of us that quote unquote have been doing it for years, it can still be a challenge. And it was very difficult for me to come out of the closet, and just speaking to that, like I say, literally, proverbially coming out of the closet. And because I didn't want to be judged. Yeah. I didn't want to be ridiculed, because again, like I have my bachelor's in psychology and Holocaust and genocide studies. Yeah. I was going to go and get my PhD and become a professor. Like, I value, again, the knowledge. And so to then go from being the smart girl, like, again, labels, but this quote unquote smart girl, to being the woo cray cray psychic witchy woman, whatever label. I mean, because again, persecution, like whatever you want to throw at me, I've heard it. It's like, do I want to go down that road? Yeah. And so if I hadn't allowed myself to really step into my own truth, I would still be planning weddings. I would still be coaching businesses while, doing my quote unquote woo woo on the side.
Yeah. In secret. Like, almost.
Yeah. And not be fully happy. Yeah. And that was the piece. It's like every time I made that, transition to the next phase, it was getting me closer to where I am now. Yeah. But I had to get there because it was a matter of, I couldn't just do it all in, because it was a process. And it's like, mind over intuition.
A little bit at a time, dipping your toes a little bit at a time. Oh my goodness. And I imagine a lot of people who feel on the outskirts of the norm feel like that. Not just in like your circle, but I mean, anybody who would be labeled different would have this scary, like you said, out of the closet feeling.
Like, why would anyone choose that, right? Like, this is a discussion I've had so many times in so many different circles of friends, of family. Like, why would anyone choose to, be and endure what it means to house the labels of being gay, of being lesbian, of being a psychic, of being a medium? Like, why would anyone in their right mind, knowing that it comes with some level of judgment, want to put themselves through that?
You're so right. Yeah, no, I mean, that is the biggest question and the biggest argument, I think, for, like just being who you are. I can't be anything different. Why would I choose this? Yeah, I mean, that's a really great question. So let's move on to negative energy. So because what's going on in the world right now, it's heavy, it's very heavy. How do people who are very sensitive to energy deal with that heaviness and kind of clearing the negative out, and so it doesn't kind of weigh them down and make them feel 1,000 pounds and create, anxiety and whatnot?
Right. And fear and worry.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, all of it.
Yeah. There are a lot of different things you can do. There are a lot of different tools you can use. But the best one that you can do and use is it's unplugging yourself from the collective consciousness. And so the collective consciousness, just think of it as everybody on the earth.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's a collective, it's a group, right? The word collective means a grouping. And so there is going to be emotion and energy, housed within that group. And so when you remove yourself from that, you then are able to determine what are your own feelings, what are your own emotions, what you are experiencing versus what everybody is feeling. Because especially as an empath, you carry other people's stuff oftentimes without even knowing it, because you're not unplugging, you're not cutting cords from people. So even if you are sitting on an airplane, let's say, and you turn to the person sitting next to you, maybe you got, screwed and you're sitting in the middle seat or like whatever, and you can turn either way. You're talking to someone next to you and you just, have, hey, where are you flying to? What are you doing? Blah, 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 whatever. Could be 30 seconds, right? Mm-hmm. You have just formed an energetic connection to that person because you interacted with them. It's that simple. Yeah. And so what happens is that unless you make it a point to regularly cut cords from all of those you interact with, and mamas, I'm talking to you right now, cut those dang cords from those kids, because they still suck you dry even when you're sleeping, and you know what I'm talking about. It's like, Mom, I need water
going on right now.
Yeah, I know. Like, oh my God. But there's always going to be that connection. You cannot get rid of that bond or, mother-child connection. It's not like you're going to get rid of that. But the day-to-day occurrence, like you can cut those cords. And so, I like to tell clients and whatnot, like, just imagine yourself holding something sharp. It could be a pair of scissors. It could be, an imaginary machete, whatever it is. You're holding something sharp, and you start from the crown at the very top of your head, and you just work your way down, and just imagine that there are cords like attached to your body, and you're just slicing them off. You're just cutting them off. Mm-hmm. But the one piece that so many spiritual leaders, thought leaders, if you will, out there forget to teach is that, just like anything else, if you are, 7 years old outside riding your bike, and you take a big digger and you've got like this gaping wound on your leg, and you don't treat it, right? You've just like ripped the skin off, but you haven't treated it. What's going to happen? It's going to be open to infection. And so if you are literally just removing these cords, but then not doing anything to like basically put a Band-Aid over that space, mm-hmm. Negative energy, anything can then be like, ooh, look,
right.
And pop on. And so you just want to call in. It may sound a little ridiculous and a little crazy, but here we are, and this is what we're talking about. You just want to call in golden creator substance to heal and seal that space. Mm-hmm. So you just imagine literally like liquid gold.
Yeah.
Just whoop, like just kind of like going into, any of the spaces.
Almost like a shield.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's as simple as that. Mm-hmm. It takes you all of like 5 seconds. And that's called cutting cords of energy. And so the very first time you do it, you may absolutely feel a sense of a lot of people will feel chills. A lot of people will feel cold. A lot of people will just feel lighter, or you may not feel anything at all, but that doesn't mean you did it wrong.
Yeah.
So I just, wanted to put that disclaimer out there, because a lot of people are like, well, I didn't feel that.
What am I supposed to feel? Sure.
Exactly. Everyone's experience is different. Yeah. So yeah.
Well, and I feel like too, again, back to what is going on right now in the state of the world is it does feel like there's just so much more negative energy around than normal. And so it feels heavy. And I think none of us really know how to navigate it, manage it, get through it. So you recently wrote a blog post about getting through what's going on right now.
Absolutely. Yeah, actually, I forgot that I had written that. That was like complete
chaos.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, just in my
just
own
like
personal
general advice on how to manage, how to deal with all the craziness.
Absolutely. I mean, this is a period of time as more and more things have come to light. This is a period of time that is meant to make you stop, right? This is a period of all of our existence that it should be a moment for you to breathe and just be like, okay, clearly, like the way I was living before was way too fast, whatever it may be. But you need to also understand that quite literally the energy of the planet right now, because you can look at this at Schumann's resonance website any day. It'll tell you the frequency of the earth. This is not just like crazy intuitive woo-woo stuff. Like this is actually scientifically backed. It like measures the frequency of the earth every day. You will see major spikes happening within the last month and a half.
Yeah.
Like spikes that are not normal. And so if you're feeling that heaviness, if you're feeling that weight, you need to understand you're not alone. You're truly not alone. We are all obviously going through it too, but just some things that you can do is, just when you're in a shower, right? When you're in the shower, water is an incredible conduit for energy, just meaning it's very relaxing. But it also, like, how many of us have our best ideas when we're in the shower?
Oh my God. I write all of my blog posts in my head in my shower.
Okay.
Yep. All of my like crazy, really deep thoughts happen in the shower. Yeah.
Yeah. That's not coincidence.
Yeah, that's nuts. Well, I'm glad it's not just me because
no.
I come out with the most brilliant ideas and I will just blah, 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 to my husband, like, this is what I just came up with. This is, and I'll get out and I'll be in my towel, dripping wet, writing a book.
Yep. 100%.
Yeah.
And that is because water is one of the best conduits for connection. And so you are going to receive those downloads or those thoughts, that you are receiving. And it can be very comforting because if you are experiencing like just complete, like flailing chaos at the moment, like, and just worry and anxiety and whatnot, again, one of the things you can do is, cut the cords of the collective. Imagine the collective being like this gray ball of smoke, so to speak. And, just again, cutting a cord to that, because it's huge. Like, I know I've mentioned it a couple times now, but it really is huge. I'm trying to remember what I wrote in that blog post.
I skimmed it. But really I just wanted to kind of get your take on the things that people can do to deal with the heaviness of all of it. Cause I do feel like, and I work with a lot of clients. I see a lot of people with adrenal fatigue. So we deal with managing stress. And I feel like one of the things we're talking about the most in these last few weeks is how to manage the heaviness and the stress around this whole state of affairs, because nothing feels normal. Everything is off kilter. Everything, the momentum that you had before has somehow shifted, and we don't know where to go. And we don't know how to manage that energy. So it's this conversation that I've had week after week after week with my own clients, and just how to deal with those emotions and that kind of just crazy heavy energy.
Well, and the thing that I think so many people don't understand, and like this is where like my, hard psychology background comes
Yeah.
in, is when our flight or fight response is triggered by a pandemic, let's say,
Just this example.
as an example, we literally disconnect. We disconnect from ourselves, we disconnect from our bodies, we disconnect. And it's because we're trying to actually protect ourselves from being re-hurt by previous trauma. Everyone in their life has experienced trauma. It doesn't matter in the spectrum of where it fell. It could be something as small as X or large as Y. It does not matter. But trauma isn't linear. And so it's not like it just happens and then like leaves our consciousness forever, right? Like it's going to resurface. And so when those old feelings of like pain and worry and panic and fear, come up again for us, it's like reactivating all of our past hurt again. And so it's like, how can you not do that? How can you fix that? Well, you need to remain as present as you possibly can in your body. And so like what I've been telling my clients is find your life vest. I know that sounds kind of silly, but really like find your life vest, because when everything is crashing down, like when everything is falling apart, again, like a pandemic, like what is like one thing, just one thing that no matter where you're at physically, mentally, emotionally, financially, no matter where you're at, what's one thing that's going to bring you back to solid ground? And it's going to look differently for everyone. It could be literally like taking a salt bath. It could be just listening to music. It could be taking your dog for a walk. It could be going for a hike and just being like underneath the sun. Like, it could be any number of things, but you need to really pinpoint that for yourself, because in the moments that get really hard, you need to have a life vest. You need to have something that you can plan on no matter what, because right now, nothing is certain.
Right. And just having those tools to rely on, to kind of fall back on when things feel like they're getting out of control again. No, that's really great advice. So I want to kind of end on a fun, positive note. So without like naming names or anything, do you have any like really great, like transformational, awesome stories from clients, people I mean, your own stories, or anything where you just like, this is why I do what I do?
Oh my gosh. Yes. One person in particular, she has been in recovery now for 11 years. And from her experience, wanted to then make a larger impact within the community of addiction. She was really struggling with how to navigate it, how to what to create, what to do, and all of those things. And after having just one session with her, and actually it was a reading, like it ended up turning into like energy work and like a tune up and like all of this stuff. But I'm like, whatever. If like when it happens, it happens. But after sitting with her and just having a discussion and having her be open to me going into her field, or just feeling into her energy, so to speak, I was able to pinpoint the major blocks she was having, which were fear of judgment, fear of abandonment, which that's a whole other story, but just all of these fears, and being able to shine light on them, being able to call them out. Because when you call out the blocks or the wounds, the traumas, and you shine a light on them, they lose its power. They lose their grip they have over you. It's no longer suffocating. And so, in just doing a little bit of work with her afterwards, she messaged me about a month later, and she just said, I just wanted to let you know that after our session, I created exactly what I was meant to create all along, but I wasn't giving myself permission to do. And I've already got X number of clients. I'm already changing lives, and I'm making the difference that I've always wanted to make, because you were able to see me at soul level.
Yeah. And I think in general, that's all anybody really wants, is to be seen and to be understood and to not be judged. I mean, nobody likes that feeling of being judged or called out. And we do have these like shadow parts of ourselves that it's not necessarily comfortable shining the lights on those things. But you're right. If you do the hard work and you do shine the light on those really scary, dark parts, it makes space. It creates space to fill it up with all of the things that you were meant to do, have, see, be, etc.
Exactly.
No, that's awesome. Now, I guess now that we kind of talked about that, that brought up another question about our shadow selves. What exactly does that mean? Can you touch on that?
This topic, it makes me so excited. Our shadow selves, or our shadows, are the parts of ourselves that wish to remain unseen.
Yeah.
We wish to let it live under the surface, where we can't feel the attachment of it, where we can't feel maybe the pain of it, or the hurt, the trauma, whatever emotion it may be. But the shadow part of the shadows that we have, so this is like one of my biggest gripes, is that there are so many people and leaders and thought leaders in this spiritual community that may practice teaching clients like manifestation, or crystals, and like how to make crystal grids, or like I don't even whatever, like I could go on and on, but I'm like at the moment. So the reality is, you can learn all of those things, but unless you get to the true soul essence and examine every single facet of who you are, good and bad, you aren't going to be in complete authenticity. You're not going to stand in your own power. You're still going to be controlled by the things lurking underneath the surface. And so when something like, let's say, an unfortunate event happens, or, you come into a moment of, instability in whatever way, shape, or form. And if one of those shadows could be like wrapped up into that, or could be a trigger, guess what? That experience that you are now going through is going to be exacerbated, that word, going to be blown up. We're going to blow it up because it is so much more, it's so much more than what is just like surface level, what you're experiencing. But you may not know why. You may not know that, you really had this deep rooted fear of being judged or ridiculed, or, embarrassed. And that just happened to you. And so unless you are able to actually call it out and heal it, that's the other piece, is there are a lot of people out there claiming to do the same type of work, but they may like call it out, but then they don't know how to heal it.
Sure. How do you heal it?
There are different ways you can heal it energetically, which is my favorite, because that is going to be the fastest way. It's going to be hitting every single like activation point at a DNA.
Is that like
level.
Reiki, or?
It could be Reiki. For many people, like when I do core wound healing, I obviously, I don't have my hands on them. And so it's a lot of like setting container. It's a lot of calling in archangels. It's a lot of calling in the galactic, I guess, support that you need. And so there are like obviously different archangels that specialize in different things. If you're having ailments with X, Y, and Z health-wise, like Archangel Raphael, you're going to call him in. And so it's just a matter of like knowing how to navigate them, that modality, but it's not something I would necessarily recommend to somebody who is like, I'm an empath. Now I'm going to try to energetically heal my wounds. Like, no, not a good idea. That's a recipe for disaster plus. No.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of like going to someone that is certified, that is a practitioner, that like knows what they're doing, because just like with anything else, where there's light, there's darkness. So you don't want to be calling in the wrong things, because that could lead you, that could just be bad.
Now, will this kind of healing work if you're on the fence of whether you believe it or not?
Yes, because if you are on the fence, that means that there's still a piece of you that's open enough for the healing to enter.
Okay.
If somebody is completely opposed to it, if they are just like, nope, not today, they're not going to be calling me anyway.
Yeah, true. No, that is true. That is.
So even if you are skeptic, it's okay, because that means that there's still a piece of you that knows at soul level there's something to this. It's not just a crock. I mean, you can still think of Lady Cleo, but I mean, there is something to this. And there's been like more instances than not that I've turned, skeptics or half believers into like, okay, sign me up. Where do I learn about intuition and tapping into it?
Yeah. Okay, let me ask you a really difficult question. Maybe difficult's not the right answer. Maybe a controversial question.
Okay.
Can you be religious and also work with somebody like you and believe in this kind of energy healing?
Absolutely.
I think that's a really big question for people.
Oh,
like,
100%.
I can't be both.
Right. And you can, because like I said, I'm non-denominational. However, like when I am doing energy healing, or when I am doing like trauma wound healing, 9 times out of 10, I'm going to be calling in Jesus Christ energy.
Sure.
I'm going to be calling in because Christ, like that frequency, just got chilled. You want to talk about frequency level, that's the highest possible frequency. Okay, so if you want it like talking from a religious, standpoint, or I don't want to say soapbox, but like, okay, Jesus is all, and he's mighty, and all of those things. And that's, I wasn't brought up in church, so I don't know the like sayings so much. So I'm not trying to be funny or like rude. But he is, right? He is one. He's all of those things. It's the same. It's the highest frequency, right? So it's like we're saying the same thing, just in 2 different ways. And so I've seen so many people. One of my best friends, like she was hardcore Catholic, like attending church all the time. Like, like every day that they had church, she went. Like I remember having those conversations. And so she knows like Bible scripture, like it's like going out of style. She is one of the most powerful shamans I've ever met.
Wow.
And so it's like, it's not
or.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It can be both. And so, but I think the major misconception and why so many people, my mother included, saying cards are bad, like, blah, 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 like all those things. And you know what? The reality, and I will shed some light on that. The reality is, if you don't know what you're doing, anything can be bad.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like we were all told by our parents, do not play with Ouija boards. Right? And how many of us did? All of us. And the reality, though, is that the Ouija board is actually a pretty powerful tool. I don't personally use them,
Mhm.
but it opens portals of energy
Mhm.
without you even knowing what you're doing. And so if you don't know what you're doing,
Right. Of course,
then
it can be
anything
bad.
can be bad.
Sure. Yeah.
And so it's yeah, it's interesting to me because like I had one person say like my lifestyle was full of witchcraft, and I'm like, talking to me? Like, what? Just because I follow the moon cycle? And like, I mean, we're made up of 80% water. The tides are controlled by the moon. But you mean to tell me that the energy from the moon that makes the tides go in and out can't control me and the energy I feel in my body?
Right.
No, no reasoning there. No, like it's just a matter of educating yourself too. And people are afraid of what they don't understand.
Yeah.
And, I'll be the first one to say, like, I was terrified of tarot for years,
Mhm.
like tarot
Yeah.
cards. I was terrified because I didn't give them enough time to actually understand. For some reason, it just always had like this negative connotation with me. And it was like dark and bad and don't do it and that. And it was like, but once I bought my first deck and I looked at them, I'm like, oh, you're not so bad. Oh, it's the same thing. Oh, but I got to learn what like the Ace of Cups means. And I need to know I'm like, too much work, can't do it, I'm lazy. And so I don't really do tarot.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, that's perfect logic.
exactly. I'm like, perfect. This is why I never wanted to like really go there because I'm too lazy. Like there are too many cards. And like with at least with Oracle, it's like, yes, no, maybe. Like go to the ocean. Like, it's like, okay, cool. Like I got this. Like you don't have to memorize stuff. But yeah. Yeah.
What a fascinating life you live. I swear. It's got to be interesting on a daily basis.
It is. And it's interesting because I was just talking with my husband about things because this October, we will have been married for 10 years. And when we got married, it was 2010. I didn't have my awakening until 2013.
So how was that for him? Like what was, I just imagine this conversation.
Oh yeah. It has taken him a while. Like it was baby steps for him to his introduction into this world. And so the biggest one being numbers. For him, he started seeing repeating numbers all the time. And I'm like, look them up. Like look up what the number means on Pinterest or whatever. Like he has Pinterest, but like look up what it means on Google. And he would. And so repeating numbers like 222, or you look down at your odometer and it's like 5:55, or you look at the time and it's 11:11, make a wish. Like they actually mean things. Those are messages from your angels. Those are messages, answers to whatever you were doing at that time, or whatever you were thinking about at that time, or like the major underlying theme that you've got going on in your life. It's guidance.
Yeah.
And so he probably, I wouldn't say he would like shoot me if I said this, but when he started his own business back in 2014, he actually did it like not just because he was seeing repeating numbers, but it was confirmation for him.
Yeah.
It was like, should I like take this next step? I need to see a set of numbers. What do I do from here? He'd see another set of numbers.
Yeah.
And so the more he like saw them, the more he trusted and believed, the more he kind of like started following, me down the rabbit hole. Now, do we sit and talk about, esoteric, 44th dimension, ascended masters and like all of the above? No. There's still
like normal family dinners and
bingo. But it's always fun when we do go like to family's house or like a friend's house for dinner. And then like work will come up, and my boys who are 6 and 8, one of them will be like, mommy talks to angels, or mommy has 30 cards, meaning she has over 30 card decks. That's a great conversation starter. Or mommy, when do we talk to Michael? And I'm like, oh my God, why do you burn sage in the house?
I'm sure those are really great conversation starters.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. That was, yeah. Oh, I
my
have stories,
God.
but I won't. Yeah. They're so cute.
Oh, gracious. Well,
Yeah.
this has been an absolutely fascinating conversation. I will say it's been one of a kind, and I'm really grateful that you were able to share and talk to my audience and kind of let us all get through this crazy time of wild energy and
Yeah.
whatever else these feelings we're feeling, all the feelings.
Absolutely.
So
And just know that you're not alone. Like that's, we are all experiencing it and there's no new normal right now. You're in survival mode right now, and it's doing what you need to do. There's no right or wrong any given day. So just having um, just having that appreciation for it all, I guess, and just having that permission
right.
to just be wherever you're at. It doesn't matter what you're supposed to be doing or what you're supposed to be feeling. If you're having a shit day, guess what? It's okay. Have your shit day and don't feel guilty for it.
Yeah, I love that. You just gave me permission.
And that's what so many of us need, though,
Yeah.
because we are so hard on ourselves. We really are. But
No, you're right.
yeah, sometimes you just need permission.
You're right. Well, Lauren, thank you so much. I really, really, really appreciate it. And I hope that my audience and any of yours that maybe listens to this got some really great information out of it. So
Absolutely.
thank you so much.
Yay. Thank you.